¿Qué tal amigos? Mi nombre es Noé y les doy la bienvenida a un nuevo video de House of Weed, el primero del año 2019. Déjenme aprovechar esta oportunidad para desearles un feliz año a toda la comunidad canábica que nos sigue en House of Weed y por supuesto desearles un año excelente. En el día de hoy quiero introducir una charla a la cual asistimos hace algunas semanas en la Universidad Federico Santa María. Fue una charla bastante interesante en donde uno de los expositores era Mark Emery de Prince of Pot. Para quien no lo conoce, él es un activista canadiense, fundador de la revista Cannabis Culture. Él también es bastante reconocido por toda su actividad como activista. Estuvo preso por 5 años en una cárcel en Estados Unidos por vender semillas desde Canadá a Estados Unidos. Sin duda ha tenido una trayectoria destacable en el tema del cannabis. Hay muchas cosas interesantes, mucho aprendizaje que se puede sacar de este video. Me gustaría que lo vean completo. Así que hoy Mark en este video les va a contar cómo fue este camino hacia la legalización, cómo está funcionando ahora y cómo la gran empresa se está apoderando de nuestra cultura, la cultura canábica. Así que ojalá que lo disfruten y ojalá que aprendan mucho de este contenido que lo hicimos con todo el cariño para ustedes.
I want to tell you that Chile is making great progress. The weed has improved a lot in 5 years. There are many more growers and many more female growers now too than there were even 5 years ago. I found a lot of tolerance, and this is a very good sign. I see this in Uruguay too. People simply do not care if you are growing or smoking anywhere. And slowly this is happening across more of Latin America. Mexico is beginning to see this now too, since the Supreme Court there said everyone can grow in their home. And South Africa has done the same thing. 2 months ago, the Supreme Court said people have a right to their privacy, and so they can grow however many plants in their own home that they want. And fortunately, for most of the world, things are improving. But in Canada, things have gone badly very fast. And actually, it's even my fault. I feel really bad about this. All my life, I was telling the government, I have been in 39 prisons and jails for cannabis, and so I'm really serious, dedicated activist. And all my life I told the government, you should legalize it. This was a very, very big mistake. What I should have said, and I will tell you is what you should say, is never ask the government to legalize cannabis. Tell them to stop arresting us, because that is what they do to intimidate us. They arrest us. So we are good people. Cannabis is extremely safe. Cannabis is safer than any other substance on the planet. Many millions of people die every year from dirty water, and they die from mosquitoes and alcohol and tobacco and prescription drugs and fast cars, and they die from 1/3 of all plants and herbs and seeds cause allergic reactions in some people to kill them. So many foods will kill you as well. Cannabis has no potential to do this. It is the most wonderful, beneficent, medicinal substance on earth, and it is the safest. Without question, there is nothing safer. I guarantee you I can find you someone who died from a cucumber, an allergic reaction from a cucumber, or a peanut, or a sesame seed, or plants that give people poison ivy. It's amazing. The world is a dangerous place, but cannabis isn't one of these dangers. What happened is I have been famous in Canada, trying to get arrested, going to jail, saying we should legalize it, we should stop these arrests. And then finally we got a government that said, okay, we will legalize it. But let me tell you what happened. The law in Canada never changed for 50 years, but our culture made fantastic improvements. When we were first oppressed in the 1970s, people just grew outside. And then in 50 years of prohibition, we learned how to grow inside. We learned how to make glass bongs. We learned how to make vaporizers. We learned about the endocannabinoid system. We learned about terpenes. We learned about extractions. We learned about how to do everything you see in our culture when it was illegal. So we made fantastic progress even when there was a prohibition. So now, when we said legalize it, the government said, yes, we will legalize it. But I forgot the most important lesson in my whole life that I've learned is that government does not exist to make you free. Now imagine if the government says, okay, we will legalize cannabis. Who are these people that will legalize it? They are all the same people who hated us for 50 years and in Canada arrested 2.5 million people. The bureaucrats did not change. In fact, they put a police chief in Canada as the Minister of Marijuana. This is a man who hates marijuana. He never has smoked it. He doesn't like us. And he was given the power to write all the rules. So he wrote 200 pages of rules. And they include a severe censorship. For example, I will tell you so many bad things that are in Canada now that did not exist when we had prohibition. They wrote a rule saying you cannot promote cannabis in any way with what you sell. So now we are forbidden from selling flags with the leaf. We are forbidden from selling any product with 420 on it. We are forbidden from giving out stickers or selling stickers that say smoke weed or cannabis is good for you. All this is illegal. No one famous can be on anything that is sold in Canada. So now you cannot buy a hat with Bob Marley on it. You can't buy a Bob Marley flag. You can't buy anything with Bob Marley on it. You can't buy anything with Tommy Chong. They have essentially made our culture illegal. The government in each province has a monopoly. They will sell you the weed, and only they will sell you the weed. You have to buy it from a government monopoly. So the very people who arrested us for 50 years are now our dealer. And the weed, to be legal, it has to be produced by a big business. And all these big businesses that are making the weed, it's terrible weed. The quality has been disastrous. Everyone hates it. We are complaining. There are insects in this weed. There is mold in this weed. It's dry, and they radiate it to try and kill things, but what they do is they dry it out, they make it so it hurts to smoke it. It has 4 taxes on it. It's amazing. It has a 10% excise tax, 13% sales tax. Even in Manitoba, they have a 6% social responsibility tax, which is a 6% tax to pay for all the damage in society that cannabis, they say, does. Now, they don't have to prove it causes any damage. They're just saying that because they get 6%. So all these taxes, the price of cannabis has gone way up. In the meantime, someone like me, I had the busiest shop in the world in Toronto. I served 2,000 people every day for 7 months before the police came and said, you are closed. But we sold to 2,000 people every day, 50,000 people every month. We always had 30 to 35 different kinds of cannabis. We never ran out. We never had complaints. I would tell people, this is the best marijuana in the world. If you don't agree, I will give your money back. You don't have to give me the weed, I will just give you the money back. No one ever said that. They said, no, this is really the best marijuana I've ever smoked. And I said, of course, because I know people who grow for 10, 20, 30 years. But all the legal weed in Canada is grown in these big factories that are all white, and they go on forever, and the people are paid terrible. In fact, they are paid so badly that most Canadians quit because they're only paying $12 Canadian an hour, which is like $9 US an hour. This is the same price that you would get if you were picking tomatoes, but tomatoes are only worth $50 for a bushel. Cannabis is worth $5,000 a bushel. They promise jobs for everyone, but they pay so bad they know you will quit. And then when they quit, then they can go to the government and say, oh, well, no one wants to work for us, so we need to import workers from poor countries around the world to do this work. You can grow 4 plants in 8 places, 8 provinces. Only 4, it's ridiculous. During Prohibition, nobody was being arrested for 4 plants. Nobody was being arrested for 10 or 20 plants. If you had 300 or 400 plants, yeah, maybe you would get arrested. But nobody was getting arrested for 4 plants. So now the government says, you can grow 4 plants. Wow, okay, we're so excited, right? But in fact, it's a very bad situation. In British Columbia, They have a special law that says if anyone can see your 4 plants, you get $1,000 fine. You have to cover up your plants. I live in an apartment. Like over 3 million Canadians in the last month, we all got threats of eviction. Sure, they said it's legal to smoke pot and have cannabis, but not in this building. In this building, if you smoke pot, we will kick you out. I have a medical prescription, but I'm going to take you to court anyway, because I don't believe that is legal. You can say you must control the smell. I agree with that. If you make a smell in your place and other people can smell it, yeah, I will fix this. But you cannot kick me out of my apartment for doing something that is legal. And it's legal to grow 4 plants, and it's legal to smoke pot. Also, I have a lot of experience selling cannabis, but because I have a conviction for cannabis sales, I cannot get a license to operate a shop. So here we have the situation where it's legal, but I cannot sell it. Legal to the government means I can buy this shitty, terrible government weed, and then I can't smoke it. I can't smoke it in my apartment, I can't smoke it on the street, I can't smoke it anywhere. In Ontario province, we have 12,000 places you can drink alcohol. You can drink alcohol at a stadium. You can drink alcohol at a restaurant, a bar, a tavern, an expo. Everywhere you can drink alcohol. But you are not legally allowed to have a place for cannabis people. Even though, of course, as I said, cannabis is perfectly safe and no one hurts. And alcohol kills people every day in my province, on the roads, from sclerosis of the liver, from crazy domestic disputes to violent robberies. Alcohol is involved in so much crime, but that's okay. You can get alcohol and have as much alcohol in your house as you want. And you can drink it, and you can even make your own wine in your own house. And you can make beer if you want, legally. But you grow 4 plants and you're out on your ass, and it will be hard to find an apartment if you get kicked out of one, because they will say, well, let me see your references for the last place, and then you're going to go, oh, I got kicked out for smoking weed. You will not be welcome anywhere else. It will be a big problem. I just put out a tweet, and I said, who benefited by this legalization? The big corporate people, many of these licensed producers that the government approved, and millions of Canadians invested in the stock market in these pot companies. And now they are all collapsing because they don't know how to grow weed. Their weed is shitty. No one is liking it. Everyone is returning to the free market. And so the price of the stocks are dropping. But now millions of Canadians are losing a lot of money. And they're just ordinary Canadians. The people who started all these corporations, they already sold all their stock. They have all the money. And this is going to affect our economy, because when 2 million Canadians lose money on these pot stocks, they will not spend at Christmas time, they will not spend for a long time, and this will affect other aspects of our economy. Because it is a fraud. Who is on these board of directors? 45 politicians and policemen and drug inspectors, 45 of them, including 2 prime ministers, 3 premiers, 3 chiefs of police, are on the board of directors of these licensed producer companies that are producing this weed. Do you think a policeman is going to grow good weed? No, it's terrible, and this is what has happened. All these big companies are infiltrated by our enemies. It was a big, colossal mistake. It was stupid of me to advocate for legalization, because that means the government will write the rules. What I should have said is, stop arresting us. We will write our own rules. And that is the most important lesson. We have to keep the control. If you ask for legalization, the government is taking the control, and the government only has one purpose: to control you. Who has been our enemy for 50 years in Chile, in Canada? The government. Who is arresting us? The government. So all we need them to do is stop arresting us. Leave us alone. We don't kill anybody. We are the safest industry. There is no other industry like that. No one can say that. Where are the car manufacturers that say, yes, we never have anybody die from our cars? Where is the prescription drug maker that says, we never have anyone die from our prescription drugs? or the alcohol, or the vineyards, or the tobacco people, or every product, sugar, salt, fat, everything we buy is going to kill you except cannabis. But cannabis is the most demonized of all substances. Why cannabis has ever been illegal, why it continues to be illegal, why it is demonized, is because we, the cannabis culture, are free thinkers. We do not accept dogma of religion. In fact, our natural enemies are 5. Our parents. When we were young and we smoked pot, the first thing we said to our parents is, "Who made you the boss of me?" Right? It's naive, but you start to criticize, where is this authority coming from? And then the next one is your teacher. You go to school and say, "This is propaganda. This is nonsense. I don't believe this. Where do you get the authority to tell me that this is reality, this is fact?" And then the priest and the mumbo jumbo that comes with the Bible or the Quran or anything like that. You read the Bible and you go, "This is insane, this is absurd. No one could believe pot with such crazy stuff." And then the fourth one is the politician, who wants you to obey, who wants you to believe, to embrace the system that is so corrupt that has oppressed us. And the fifth one is the policeman, who enforces the other, the parent, the teacher, the priest, and the politician. He is the enforcer. If you don't agree, or you don't believe, or you're going to rebel, the policeman is there for the other 4. Those are our normally natural enemies, because we don't accept these dogmas. We question these dogmas. And the most dangerous person in the world to a government is a citizen who is aware, who is going to take action, who is a free thinker, and who is smoking pot. Because this will lead you to other avenues of reality, and those realities will not coincide with the government agenda.
De eso se trató la charla de Mark Emery. Esperamos que este contenido les sirva para aclarar su visión respecto a cómo funcionan realmente todos estos procesos que tienen mucha relación con la política, que tienen mucha relación con los grupos de poder, con los grupos dominantes. Vemos acá que en Canadá la gran empresa está dominando todo este mercado. Son pocos los que tienen acceso a poder optar por una licencia de producción, entonces se concentra mucho el mercado. Si llegaron hasta acá, por supuesto no olviden suscribirse al canal, apretarle a la campanita para que les lleguen notificaciones cada vez que subamos un nuevo video. Denle like y por supuesto comenten, que su opinión siempre es muy bien recibida, siempre y cuando obviamente se haga con respeto, intentando aportar a la comunidad que estamos construyendo. Muchas gracias por ver el video y nos vemos en el siguiente.